Hi again. My name is Rebel and I'm the Rebel Reseller. And today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I am going to be doing one of my brand videos. I've done a few in the recent past, and then I was doing quite a bit of them when we first started making the videos. I keep saying I'm going to keep getting to them, but they take a lot of time. But I'm planning on trying to get at least a couple a month out. We'll see how that goes. I enjoy them. Right now, it's a really, really good time to be doing these types of videos, just to remind people of Plush that they should be looking for out at yard sales, estate sales, thrift stores. And it's just a good time to refamiliarize yourself or to learn these brands. I learn every time I make one of these videos. Well, the brand that I decided to do this time is Mary Meyer. I like that brand. For the most part, though, the things that I find are usually bread and butter. So it was very interesting to go into the sold comps and see what's selling. And how I do these videos is I go into eBay, and we all know eBay, as far as the current solds, is about 90 days old. So the things that are selling have sold in the last 90 days. But I also go into Terapeak. For each one of these items, I have double checked Terapeak because a lot of times the price that you're seeing in solds isn't what it's sold for. And there's a couple of drastic examples in this video of if I had only gone in and looked at the sold comps, I would be listing my item way too high and it probably wouldn't have sold. So just be careful. For the most part, the sold comps are accurate, but there are instances where it's not. I'm not quite sure where the disconnect is, though, as far as why isn't the solds the same as Terapeak. So just be careful. Always check Terapeak, especially when you're getting into some of these higher dollar items, because you don't want to be spending up and then come to find out that it's not worth as much as the sold comps were telling you. Information on how I do this, like I said, I go into eBay solds. I search by Mary Meyer Plush. And then if I'm seeing a lot of foreign countries that this is being shipped from, I see that in certain Plush like Disney, I'll go in and put US only. I pick used because it's the things that we're probably going to find in, yard sales, thrift stores and stuff. So I don't want to really focus on the new stuff, and a lot of us know some of this stuff that's being marked as new, it's really not new. It's just got its paper tags. And even if it does have its paper tags, I'm going to list it as used. And then I go in and I sort by high to low, and that's how I come up with this list. Now, of the Mary Meyers, I picked a price point starting at $25. So all of the items that you're seeing sold for $25 and up, and you'll be amazed to see how high the price goes on some of these Plush. All right, I'm not going to do the picture-in-picture this time, so I'm just going to go to the screen because I don't want to block out some of the information. Starting at $25, this first item is Asher, the puppy dog. It's gray and black, and it sold for $25. It is a 10-inch plush, just to kind of familiarize yourself with the sizes of some of these plush. Another $25 item was this Dreamweaver bear. I guess its name is Sunny. 17 inches. It has little tulips on it. A lot of times you have to also consider, like this one has a paper tag. Not sure if it would make a big difference if it didn't have a paper tag as far as the price, but this one sold for $25. Another $25 one was this Marshmallow Junior Cleo Kitty. There is a whole series of Marshmallow Zoo or just Marshmallow Plush. They've just kind of got this like rectangular body size, all of them. But this little tabby cat sold for $25. They have several series in the Mary Meyer. All right, this was a $19.99 Starbright Star Bear plush. It too had a paper tag, and this is one of those examples. The sold said that it sold for $32.99. It actually sold for $25 on Terapeak. Mary Meyer Lovey. Mary Meyer also puts out a lot of the taggies. I think there might be one example of a taggy also. You know, when I do the videos where I either am showing you a taggy or one has sold, make sure if you are going to use the word taggies that you see it on one of the little tags. Otherwise, you might get hit with a bureau. But this particular one was just a princess doll, and it sold for $25.49. This is a goat plush. Based on its shape, it's probably one of the marshmallow ones also. This one was 13 inches and it sold for $26.36. Just based on what I'm seeing here, it would definitely be a plush that would catch my attention and that I would be picking up. I was surprised with this one. It's just a little rabbit with the little lace collar. It does have a paper tag, and it sold for $26.95. It doesn't look very big either. Let me see if I can. It says 6 to 14 inches. Here's one of the taggies. I've never seen this one. I get a lot of like bears and stuff like that. This was an octopus slash jellyfish lovey with the taggies, and it sold for $26.99. I'm going to show you the tag right here. You need to make sure you see one of the tags that says taggies before you use that word. Here's another one of the taggies. This one seems to have some condition issues, but it's probably really hard to find. I know I've never seen one of them, but it is a horse plush, and it sold for $26.99. Mary Meyer owl plush. I saw several different owls. This is a 6-inch size, and it sold, and it looks in pretty rough condition, $29.71. This is a floppy puppy dog with brown spots. Just, I would have used like multi-tone, something like that, just because it's just all different colors. It sold for $29.99. Hell, even the vintage ones. I'll show you the tag here in a second, but this kind of looks like one of those carnival style plush that, you know, I pick once in a while. This one has the orange eyes. Sometimes they're glass and sometimes they're plastic. This one is 10 inches. And right here is this tag, definitely different. Interesting though, very interesting. All right, this is a Pegasus. I guess its name is Blue Moon, 14-inch. They've also used the word horse, and it sold for $29.99. Bears. This bear's name is Tolliver. I'm pretty sure I've had him at some point, unless another brand also uses that name, but I do remember the name Tolliver. It is a 16-inch plush. And it sold for $30. This is one of the older Mary Meyer tags. Come on, right there. Here's another one of those examples. When you go into the sold comps, this shows that this Darby the Dragon, it's in the flip-flop series, sold for $70. But if you go into Terapeak, it actually sold for $30, which is still a good price. But, you know, if you went to a yard sale and they were wanting $10 or $15 for it and you think you're going to make $70, it might be a little bit of a disappointment. All right, another Taggies plush. This one is just a polka dot green puppy dog, and it sold for $30.40. This is a marshmallow pink dog plush, sold for $31.19. This was an owl I guess the color, they're calling it putty. It sold for $31.99. I did notice that there was another one that was just two different colors, same owl. It sold for a little bit less. So I wasn't going to show the same plush twice. But just keep in mind, it could be a different color. All right, another one of the Marshmallow Zoo Hippo plush. This one sold for $35. Colonial Williamsburg Patriot Drummer plush. Mary Meyer's does do some like advertising plush for other projects. This is one of the examples. I think there might be one or two more. I saw a couple of examples that did not beat the pricing criteria, but you know, just know that some of the advertising plush can be Mary Meyer, and y'all know I like picking up those types of plush. This one sold for $35. Lazar Gray Kitty Cat Plush. Sophia La Giraffe. This one sold for $35.99. Another marshmallow. This was the Hedgehog, and it sold for $37.97. Don't they have a similar body styles of Jellycat? Sweet Rascals is another brand or series in the Mary Meyer brand that tends to do pretty good. I have picked up several of them. This one was the Dalmatian dog. His name is Dudley, and he sold for $39. And then this is Tic Tac Toby, a little cute dog plush with the black eye, sold. Again, look at the difference in prices. The sold comp showed that it sold for $100.50. But Terapeak, same listing in Terapeak, sold for $40. All right, this is Tumbles, the teddy bear clown jester from 1997. Definitely would be something that would catch my eye. And it sold for $40. Also, some of these are free shipping, and some of them are paid shipping. So it makes a little bit difference in how you're going to judge the price. Loved this. I have never seen this. And yeah, it definitely looks realistic. This is a baby deer, and it sold for $40. This was a silver and gray cat plush. It said it's from the 80s. Yeah, it's got an older tag. Sold for $41.48. All right, another flip-flops. They're just kind of got the floppy legs. I find them quite often. A lot of times they're still only bread and butter, maybe a little bit better. But this little tan dog, they almost always also have like a plaid bow around their neck. So just keep that in mind when you see plush, like this little dog has the green plaid. This one though sold for $41.75. Mary Meyer raccoon, again, got the floppy legs. This raccoon sold for $42. And here, I'm going to turn this off real quick so you can see a lot of times this is the flip-flops tag. This is another advertising bear. It was for Tempur-Pedic. I saw another one that said Tempur-Pedic, but it was also for some cancer research program. It sold for a little bit less than this one, but this 18-inch bear sold for $43.98. All right, this is one of the taggies, a little yellow giraffe, 14-inch, sold for $44.99. Never saw these before. Now I'm going to definitely be on the lookout for them. This one is, the series is called Food for Thought. I think I have 2 examples of them. I encourage you, maybe right after this video, go into Terapeak and, look up the Mary Meyer, the flip-flops, and familiarize with the different ones. the Sweet Rascals, the food for thought, and just kind of do some research there on, things to be looking for. This set of 5 plush sold for $45. Here's another one of those vintage type Mary Meyer. This one says reserved listing. Probably what has happened is somebody has bought something from somebody, asked if they had any more, and went ahead and made a reserved listing for this person to go ahead and purchase it. I don't know if I've ever done that before, and I would still worry if I put reserved listing. I would probably put a crazy price on it and then tell the person to send me an offer, because, maybe somebody else is looking for that and they see this cat and they snatch it out, even though you promised it to somebody else. So, just my thoughts on reserved listings. But this one sold for $45.99. You can just tell it's very vintage. It's got the little felt eyes. Probably stiff like the Carnival plush. All right, this is a 1995 Ram Bighorn sheep. Sold on an auction for $50. Makes you wonder, could it have gone higher if it had had a buy it now price? You just don't know. The shipping on here is kind of high. It must be very large because the shipping is showing $33.35 from Texas. And anytime you see that shipping quote on there, it's because it's got my zip code. So if I was to purchase this, that would have been the shipping to me via whichever, UPS, USPS, Ground Advantage. That's how that works. It's based on the zip code of whoever's looking at it. If you lived closer, you might be seeing $16 shipping. All right, I love when I do a video and it's one of my listings. I sold this recently. It was a Sweet Rascals black cat with the witch hat. And I ended up taking a best offer of $50 for my plush. All right, vintage. It says 1930s zipper plush pajama bag. And it sold for $55. I'm going to go ahead and remove this so I can show you some of the pictures. And right here is the tag from way back when, Mary Meyer. Trying to see what the other one says. Nope, just the same thing. I don't think I've ever picked up a plush with that tag. All right, this is another one of the flip-flops. This one was from 2000. The little black, brown and white puppy dog sold for $59. Again, you can see right here, it kind of has a red like plaid or gingham bow, not bowl. All right, this one was a surprise to me. Mary Meyer Sweet Rascals, same series as my little black cat, but it was a pink bear with wings, angel wings, and a halo, and it sold for $60. All right, this is another Sweet Rascals. Her name is Jillian the Giraffe, and she sold for $65. Here's another one of those food for thought plush. This is peanut butter and jelly plush. They are absolutely adorable. Just adorable. And this set sold for $69.99. All right. Not sure how or if we would ever come across another one of these, but it says it was a salesman sample, and I have found plush in the past that said salesman sample on it. It was just, at one point in my life, I was a manager of a Navy exchange right after I got out of the military, and we would have salesmen come in and show us samples of all the stuff they had that they would try to sell to us that we would put in our store to sell to our customers. But this was Mary Meyer, a lion, and it has on the bottom of its foot the National Guard logo. And they said never released. Sold for $72. Mary Meyer Cheeky Cow Floral Patchwork Plush. Absolutely adorable. Never have seen it before. and it sold for $99.99. And that's not the end of it yet. All right, this is Mary Meyer Polar Bear Bart Jr. Y'all, these are large, very large plush. I actually have two here at the end. You're going to have to make the choice. Is it worth trying to find a box to pack? Because this one says it's 34 inches. I've got another one that's even larger than that. But this bear sold for $75. Yeah, when I looked at this, and I'm showing my age, I thought it was like from HR Puffin Stuff. Anybody remember that show? HR Puffin Stuff. That looks to me, and it's probably wrong, but in my brain, that's what it looks like. But it says that this is Super Simple Songs Toby Plush. I guess it's a YouTube thing. And this plush sold for $120. Here is the other large plush. This one says it is 48 inches. As you can see, it's coming from Florida. If I had purchased it, they're saying that the shipping would have been $75. And this bear sold for $120. You know, I guess I would probably pick it up. You know, Robert keeps telling me the rule is if it needs packed, it needs to be worth $100. So there we go. I would probably pick it up. I'm sure it would fit in, you know, a Walmart box. But let's see, the best Mary Meyer item to be looking for is this, and it's from the Marshmallow Zoo lot. This orange fox sold for $172.08. Crazy, crazy. I am definitely going to be keeping my eyes open for this fox. But y'all know I love picking up Mary Meyer anytime I find them, especially at the bins. So, you know, I was surprised though at that one. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know, what plush would you like me to do a brand video on? I've done some in the past, but like Robert said in a recent video, it's been a couple of years. I could do them again. I think my next one I'm picking is Kids Preferred, just because it's a brand. I think just recently I kind of said something like most of them aren't worth anything. And when I say that, sometimes it sticks with me and I'm like, really? Let me go see. So I've already kind of pinpoint that one to be the next one. But if there's a brand that you would like me to do, let me know. There are some that are so obscure. They're hard to put videos together for. And then there's some like Thai that, you know, I would have to break that down, and, you know, I probably would never do a video on like Thai beanies. But, you know, I think I've done one on like the Pluffies. I've talked about Pillow Pals a lot, and the baby ones. But yeah, if there's a particular one you think it would be a good one to do, leave me a message down in the comments on a brand that you would like me to do. And, you know, I'll try to put it in the queue. Robert's going to be gone next week for like 4 days. So I think I'm going to try to do this Kids Preferred one next. And, you know, go from there. So hope you guys enjoyed this, but it's time to get to work. So I'll be seeing you in the next video. Bye.